Hello again to another Agricolor React, and today we will be watching 10 US states that might leave for Canada. Here's why. From The World to Explore. Just jump in. I'm guessing the border states, isn't it, would be ones. Alaska is also technically border state as well, isn't it? So let's see.
What if the border between America and Canada wasn't permanent? What if some parts of the United States no longer wanted to stay? What if they looked north and saw something better? It sounds insane, like fiction, like a wild internet rumor. But it's not. There are places in the US where this idea isn't just a whisper, it's a movement. Real groups, real people, and real reasons. Some of these states are more connected to Canada than their own country, economically, culturally, even politically. And when you look at the facts, it stops being a joke. It starts feeling like a countdown. Because the idea that states might one day leave America, it's not a fantasy anymore, it's a maybe. Before we get into it, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates from our channel. 10. Vermont. This isn't just a state, it's a stubborn dream. Vermont never really felt like the rest of the country. It's not loud, not fast, not obsessed with power or profit. It's quiet, green, fierce in its independence, and guess what? It used to be a country. Yeah, a full-on republic. Before joining the Union in 1791, Vermont was its own thing. It printed its own money.
It's the first time I'm hearing about
People forget
okay.
that, but Vermonters don't. The spirit never died. Today, Vermont feels more Canadian than American in almost every way. They love social programs. They're deeply progressive. The politics up there, pure maple-flavored left-wing. And here's the part that most Americans don't know. Some people in Vermont actually want out, not just metaphorically, literally. A group called the Second Vermont Republic has been pushing for secession for years, not as a joke, as a real movement. They argue Vermont doesn't need Washington, doesn't want it, doesn't benefit from it. Their vision? An independent Vermont? Or maybe something more Canadian? The state already trades heavily with Quebec. There's a strong cultural overlap. They speak French in some towns, and the values eerily similar. Vermont
Where is this
small,
place?
peaceful, protective of its environment and its people. It doesn't chase military power or global influence.
I'm not talking
It
about
just wants
Vermont,
to live
obviously. I meant that place there. Where is it? This here. Look. There's like stairs going up. There's like stairs going up here. There's a landing. And there's like a viewing port, I guess, or something. And I'm like, I know those stairs would kill me. I can't do a lot of stairs. Despite the fact we have stairs here, like coming from the bedroom, our apartment is first and second floor, so I'm using stairs every day. But if it's like longer stairs, I'm not used to it too. Or just going uphill. My legs are not made for this for some reason. I don't know why. I can walk straight in horizontal lines really, really long. But stairs? No, thank you. So, oh, sorry, I just really strayed from the
French
topic.
in some towns, and the values eerily similar. Vermont is small, peaceful, protective of its environment and its people. It doesn't chase military power or global influence. It just wants to live right. Does that sound like Texas, or does it sound more like Nova Scotia? People here are proud, and if a crisis ever hit the US, economic meltdown, political collapse, civil unrest, Vermont might not wait around. It's already halfway out the door. 9. Maine. This state has always felt distant, disconnected, not just in geography, but in soul. Maine is the last light on the eastern edge of the country. Cold, quiet, resilient. And here's the truth. Without Canada, Maine might not even function. That's not an exaggeration. Maine depends on Quebec for electricity, a lot of it. Canadian power flows across the border to keep homes warm, factories running, and lights on during long, brutal winters. Cut off Quebec, Maine goes dark. But it's not just energy.
Oh
it's
wait, so that means... Like, I knew that they're relying a lot, America relies a lot, especially those northern states, on Canada's energy and stuff. So if Trump would introduce those tariffs for like what, 25% on Canada on energy and stuff, is it? That means like minimum of 25% up for the energy cost in those states. Like, never really think about that, isn't it? Because and like, I think Americans, I wonder how many Americans don't realize that a lot of their energy comes from Canada, like straight from there. It's not. I'm not talking about, let's say, gas or oil that being shipped to America and then changed into energy, but actually there's connections, like electrical grids and stuff coming from Canada straight to their states and homes.
Over $3 billion in trade flows between Maine and Canada every year.
That's
Goods,
a lot.
services, labor. If that connection
Maine
stopped,
is not that big
Maine's
state,
economy
isn't it?
would shatter like thin ice. And the people? They don't feel like Texans. They don't act like Californians. The fishing villages? Nearly identical to those in Nova Scotia. Families cross the border like it's nothing. French is spoken here, not as a novelty, but as tradition. Culturally, Maine fits Canada like a missing puzzle piece. Politically, too. It leans more moderate.
So I'm guessing a lot of the states that they'll be talking here about gonna be those what's it called, the Northeast. Is it New England? A lot of them gonna probably be here, and then the border ones from like Washington State. I don't know what's next to it. Then there's a North Dakota, isn't it, bordering as well? Is it Montana next to the Washington? We
More
learn.
community-based, more focused on social infrastructure than national drama. Maine has never felt the spotlight, never
That's
chased
nice.
fame. It just does what it's always done, survives, protects its own, and quietly wonders why Washington never really noticed it. But Canada's right there, with resources, with support,
closer,
with
that's
history.
why?
Maine was once part of Massachusetts, until it split off. So breaking away isn't
Did
a
not
new
know that
idea
either.
here. What if they did it again? What if they looked north and decided that's where they
Wow.
belong? 8. New Hampshire. Live
Oh,
free
New
or
Hampshire,
die.
okay.
Those 4 words aren't decoration. They're gospel. New Hampshire doesn't play by the rules. It's got no income
Hey, is
tax,
New Hampshire
no
even
say-
bordering with Canada? Let's see. This is like, I wonder. What does Shire mean, by the way? Yeah, it does. Tiny little border. Huh, okay. So, Montreal and Quebec City. So, it borders with Quebec. Excuse me. And Maine over here. Vermont here. Huh. Interesting. Quite interesting. Okay, and so let's go.
sales tax, and very little patience for federal overreach. The people here are tough, self-reliant, they hunt, they farm, they fix their own fences, and they don't like being told what to do. This isn't just American grit, it's anti-government spirit, and it runs deep. Deep enough that
Okay,
in 2022...
but if they're anti-government, that means they're not going to be happy with the Canadian government either, isn't it?
Lawmakers in New Hampshire proposed something unthinkable, an amendment,
Really?
one that would have let voters decide whether to secede from the United States. No, it didn't pass, but the fact that it even reached the State House, that's not nothing. It means the idea isn't fringe anymore. And why not? New Hampshire already shares deep economic roots with Canada, over $8 billion in trade every year. Canadian companies operate here. Partnerships thrive, borders blur, and culturally, this isn't Florida or Arizona. It's a world of snow, hiking, small towns, and self-made communities. The lifestyle here is closer to New Brunswick than New York, and the politics, scattered, but increasingly aligned with Canada's decentralization and local governance. Oh, and there's a movement. Have you heard of the Free State Project? It's a real campaign to bring libertarians to New Hampshire, to build a population that rejects federal control, to shrink government until it vanishes. Sounds like the prequel to something bigger. Because if you gather enough people who believe they don't need Washington, eventually, someone says it out loud. What if we left? What if we chose a different future? What if that future looked a lot like Canada? 7. Minnesota. Snow blankets the land. Lakes stretch endlessly. Accents carry a northern lilt. This isn't just the Midwest, it's practically Canada. Minnesota shares over 500 miles of border with Canada. Trade flows freely. Billions of dollars in goods crossing annually.
So
Families
it's
span both
Minnesota
sides.
that it's
Cultures
next to-
intertwine. The people
between
here,
Washington and
friendly,
North Dakota,
resilient,
is it?
and deeply connected to the outdoors. Hockey isn't
I don't
just
remember
a sport,
correctly,
it's
so
a
I'm
way
not
of
sure.
life.
Probably
Winter
wrong.
isn't endured, it's celebrated. Politically, Minnesota leans progressive. Values align closely with Canadian provinces. Social
What
programs,
city is this?
environmental initiatives, community focus. It's all here. Historically, parts of Minnesota were under British control. The fur trade linked it to Canadian markets. Even today, dual citizenship isn't uncommon. If turmoil ever grips the US, Minnesota might not wait. Its gaze could shift northward, seek familiarity and stability. 6. North Dakota. Vast plains, endless skies, a state often overlooked. But beneath the surface lies a deep connection to Canada. North Dakota's economy leans heavily on Canadian trade. Billions in exports head north annually. Agriculture, energy, manufacturing, all tied to Canadian markets. Power grids interlink. Canadian electricity keeps homes warm during harsh winters. Cross-border travel is routine. Healthcare, shopping, work, Canada is a constant presence. Politically, the state's conservative values mirror those.
I just gonna say something in regards to this video. I don't think a lot of those like clips are put in the right context. Because I'm pretty sure there is no vineyards in. Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. Who knows?
of Canadian provinces like
Minnesota,
Alberta.
is it?
Small government, personal freedom, economic pragmatism. There was even talk, once, of merging economies with Manitoba. It didn't happen, but the idea lingers. Should the U.S. falter, North Dakota might find its
Oh, it's
lifeline
Dakota.
already extends north. 5. Montana. Rugged mountains, wide open spaces, a spirit of independence. Montana feels like its own country. Sharing borders with 3 Canadian provinces, Montana's ties to the north are strong.
Oh, looks
Trade
nice.
is robust. Goods, services, and people move seamlessly. The culture? Deeply connected to the land. Hunting, fishing, ranching, traditions shared with Canadian neighbors. Winters are harsh, but Montanans endure, much like their counterparts across the border. Historically, Canadian companies dominated Montana's fur trade. Today, families often have relatives on both sides. Some even joke that Montana is just southern Alberta. Anti-federal sentiments run deep. Many feel neglected by Washington. If given a choice, some might prefer
That's
a government that aligns
Seattle,
more
isn't it?
closely with their values. In times of crisis, Montana could look north, seeking a kindred spirit. 4. Washington. Tech hubs, coffee culture, towering evergreens. Washington is modern yet deeply connected to nature. Its largest trading partner, Canada. Billions in goods cross the border annually. Seattle and Vancouver are economically intertwined. A proposed high-speed rail could link them even closer. Energy flows south from British Columbia, powering homes and businesses. Ports collaborate, facilitating trade across the Pacific. Politically, Washington aligns with Canadian ideals. Progressive policies on healthcare, the environment, and social issues mirror those of its northern neighbor. Culturally, the similarities are striking. Outdoor lifestyles, environmental consciousness, and a shared appreciation for diversity. If the U.S. ever faces division, Washington might find its future lies not to the east, but to the north. 3. Oregon. It feels disconnected, not just from Washington, D.C., but
I'm
from the
going
rest
south,
of America.
huh?
Oregon
They
has
don't
always
border
marched
with
to the beat of
Canada.
its own drum, and lately, that drum sounds a lot like Vancouver.
Oh no, I don't think that would matter that much, isn't it? Looking at Alaska and Hawaii. Some other places, like let's say French Guiana. Wait, is that a separate country? I'm not talking about America and Canada now, in general about having countries that they have there. Is it called enclaves, isn't it? In different parts of the world. Russia have one just next to Poland.
The economy here leans hard on Canada. Over $4 billion in trade moves across that border each year, but the connection goes deeper than dollars. Oregon and British Columbia share more than just a coast.
Do I have like the order of states wrong? On my what's on there? I have to check it because that's gonna be a map of states. I think I have to have it wrong. I thought Oregon is below Washington, isn't it? It is. So I'm not wrong. Why are they talking about bordering? I'm so confused. I don't want this link. Just go to some normal link of. Okay, here, there you go. Okay, so we got the screen capture, and here we are. So basically, like I was thinking, Seattle is in Washington, then the Oregon is below. Then there's Idaho is bordering as well. Oh, I keep forgetting that there's a little panhandle here. Okay, then there's Montana. Then there's North Dakota, Minnesota. Is the Wisconsin border with them too? Doesn't look like it, isn't it? Oops, what did I turn? I don't know what I did. I don't know if it's Michigan, it's Wisconsin. Kind of looks like it might though. Then Ohio borders with Canada as well? I'm really confused with all the things now. Let's go this way and let's go this way. There you go. Let's just keep going. But
Line. They share values, green energy, sustainability, universal healthcare, labor rights. It's not just policy, it's identity. Portland and Vancouver could be sister cities. Progressive, artsy, passionate about the planet, passionate about people. The energy is the same. And then there's the frustration. Oregon often feels like it's at war with itself. Western Oregon clashes with rural counties, and those eastern regions? Some want to leave. They've begged to join Idaho. But here's the twist. While some look east, others look north. Canada seems stable, consistent, kinder, even. And for a state that constantly butts heads with the federal government, the idea of leaving, of aligning with someone else, it doesn't sound so wild. Some Oregonians have already said it out loud, whispered it in council meetings, written about it in local papers. What if we left? What if we found a place where our values actually fit? 2. Alaska, the last frontier. But maybe not the last forever. Alaska is already physically separated from the rest of the US by thousands of miles and a vast wilderness. The only road connecting it to the mainland runs straight through Canada. Geographically, it's closer to British Columbia and the Yukon than to any other American state. But it's not.
That doesn't look like any of the American, North American, or American. Any American. Okay, South America maybe. But that more looks like some Greek or maybe something in Spain or Italy. Ugh. Why they put in like random things in there?
Geography, economically,
like this
Alaska
here. What does that have
is
to do with
tied to Canada
anything?
in surprising ways. Oil, seafood, timber. Canadian companies own large stakes in its resources. Trade is constant, interwoven. Some of the state's biggest fisheries rely on Canadian waters. Its mining industry, cross-border, deeply connected.
And there's
then
Russian
there's
flag.
military cooperation. Alaska hosts some of America's most strategic bases. But defense here isn't just American, it's shared. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, is a joint effort. Canadian and American forces side by side. If things go south, they already know how to work together. Alaska used to belong to Russia. That's not just trivia. It's proof that its identity isn't fixed. It has changed before. It could change again. And culturally, Alaska is wild, independent, fiercely self-reliant, but it shares that frontier grit with Canada's northern territories. Same cold, same challenges, same survival instincts. Some Alaskans have openly said they feel like a forgotten outpost, not part of the national conversation,
nice.
barely heard. So what if they made a move? What if they picked the neighbor that feels like a partner? 1. Michigan. This one might be the most shocking, but it makes the most sense. Michigan is already tied to Canada like Siamese twins. One twist of the knife in that connection, and everything breaks. $80 billion in trade every year. That's not just impressive, it's survival. Cars, steel, electronics, agriculture. Thousands of trucks cross the Detroit-Windsor border every single day. Cut that off, Michigan collapses. And then there's the auto industry. This is Detroit's heart, its soul. But that heart beats across borders. Factories in Michigan and Ontario work together. Parts are made in Canada, assembled in the US, then shipped back north. Sometimes a single car crosses the border 5 times before it's finished. You don't build that kind of system unless there's trust, integration, shared goals. And don't forget about infrastructure. Bridges, tunnels, pipelines, even electricity. Michigan gets a chunk of its power from Ontario. And here's the wildest part. Michigan once considered joining Canada. After the Toledo War in the 1800s, some residents were so fed up they floated the idea. It didn't happen, but the story, it's still there, buried in the history books. And today, that old spark isn't completely dead, because when you're already living like a Canadian province, maybe all that's left is to make it official. So could these states really break away and join Canada? At first glance, it sounds like fiction, a bizarre what-if scenario. Something for Reddit threads and political satire, but the facts tell a different story. Vermont, already dreaming of independence. Maine, powered by Quebec. New Hampshire, fighting for freedom in every direction. Minnesota, culturally Canadian. North Dakota, economically hooked to the north. Montana, tired of being ignored. Washington, practically part of British Columbia. Oregon, seeking identity. Alaska, geographically and strategically closer to Canada. And Michigan, held together by an invisible, undeniable thread across the water. These aren't just connections. They're dependencies, similarities, alliances that make the current border feel outdated. And if the US ever stumbles, politically, economically, or socially, some of these states might just ask the big question.
Don't seem to be liking the non-Trump with the
Why not go somewhere that already feels like home? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
I hear Millie meowing really weirdly. Never mind, it's just a child outside. So, I don't have to worry about it. I'm hoping the parents with it. Yeah, so, what can I say? The Michigan thing did kind of surprise me, although obviously it is a border state. And they just said, well, they explained it why. Obviously there is no... How to say that nicely without being rude or vulgar. There's no chances for them to actually join Canada, isn't it? Not in this stage of time and age and stuff like that. There's absolutely no way that any of those states gonna. Is this the word secess? That's what the secession war was, isn't it? Because they wanted to cede. I don't know. My pronunciation is absolutely terrible in those words. I don't know that well, and I'm not using. It's not like you're using that words that often. They wanna break away from United States. I mean, who knows? Maybe in a couple hundred years or something like that. But nah, I don't think so. Although the like, you know, I always hear about, let's say, California or Texas talking about it, but never about other states. It makes sense actually, because like California and Texas, I always think about it because they're big and they're rich states, so they kind of could do it on their own. But the other states are smaller, less populous, and it's kind of would make a bit more sense because they actually could join Canada, because like most of them do border with them, except Oregon. But still, if Washington would do it and would border with Canada, then Oregon could do it, and then, you know, like keep going, just go around it. It would be funny if all the states go from like northwest, so the Washington, Oregon, California, and then go down as a California border straight with Arizona, isn't it? Or New Mexico? I don't remember. And just go around it. So Canada would be all around the thing, in the middle of the states would be United States. That'd be funny. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you tomorrow. Bye.